Hello and welcome to See What We See with Lauren and Martin. My name is Lauren Cashin. I'm the Executive Director of the Ontario Opticians Association, and I'm here with my co-host, Martin LeBeau, Deputy Executive Director of the Ontario Opticians Association.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to See What We See with Lauren and Martin. My co-host is here with me today, Lauren Cashin. How you doing, Lauren?
I'm great, Martin. How you doing?
I'm great. Thank you very much. Today, we are going to talk about how to fit patients with new eyewear. And by the way, our podcast today is brought to you by the Optical Group, a great sponsor of the Ontario Optician Association. We have a special guest. We'll go some back and forth and some banter on different techniques, how to fit our patients. But Lauren, what do you think about this?
I think it's a great topic. It really is. You know, for all of us that have been in the industry for years, we all have our own techniques on how to suggest eyewear to our patients, how to get them to change, to get out of their little square box they have of always buying the same glasses over and over again. And I believe it's our job to really show people what's out there and to help them with their eyeglass wardrobe, and to get them to let's change things. And because a lot of times a patient brings in a family member, and you know how frustrating that is when the mama is looking down at the 5-year-old and saying, "So do you like this frame on, mommy?" "No." "Here's another one." "No, no, no." And it's like, of course it's no. You're not mummy anymore when you change to those glasses. So we need to develop our own techniques, how to present eyewear to our patients. And we've all been there. Every optician who's listening to this, I'm sure we're striking a chord. And a great thing, I'll go ahead. We've got one of our colleagues here today, fellow optician, Gayle Harrison. And Gayle has developed her own way of helping people pick their eyewear. She calls it guiding the choice. And she's got some really, really good techniques in that. We've spoken to her about it in the past. And yeah, so we have Gayle here today, Martin.
Well, that's great. I mean, I agree with you, Lauren. This is a conversation that's worth having. Well, let me introduce you to Gayle. Hi, Gayle. How are you today?
Hey, Martin and Lauren. I'm great, thanks. And thanks so much for inviting me to be a part of this.
Oh,
Great,
thank you very much for joining us. Now, Gayle just did a presentation for us at Inside Optics. So there's definitely going to be some topics that she discussed about at Inside Optics during her presentation, which went really, really well, by the way. A lot of kudos going your way, Gayle. So great job on that. But maybe you can start by just introducing yourself a little bit and what brought you to us today? What made you almost the expert on fitting for eyewear?
Well, so my background was actually, I started out at art college and became a photographer and then went into healthcare administration. And then 10 years ago, I became a licensed optician and I just love my job. I really value what I do and what my patients' experience is. And so that's how I've come up with, you know, after following a lot of different opticians and training out of some of the best, I really took a little bit from everybody and developed a technique that makes it simple for our patients to either find something they love and even try something new and maybe go for a completely different look.
That's great. Now, you probably know every single optician out there will have a different opinion on how to fit eyewear for their patients. But let's start with you. What's the first thing you would do if a brand new patient walks in your clinic? You don't know them, they hand you a prescription, then go.
Well, I mean, the first thing is most people don't hand you their prescription. I always, you know, greet them, welcome them to the dispensary and give them my name and say, "Hey, what are you looking for today? What are we, you know, where are you at the process?" And that's when I start asking things about prescription. What are they wearing now? And we start the conversation about where they are and where they want to be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I guess you would ask them right away, are you happy with what you're wearing now?
Yeah, I mean, I always start with the clinical questions. I need to know what they're doing, what their prescription is, what they've been wearing now. So at least I know a base of where we're starting at. And then, yeah, my first question is, are you happy with what you're wearing? Because we've all had that patient that comes in and says, you know, I've had these glasses so long and I've never liked them.
That's-
My response to that is usually, well, you must have liked something about them because you purchased them and you've been wearing them a couple years. So let's talk about that.
I guess you have some people that just aren't that interested in the styling process. Just give me something close to what I'm wearing. I'm just fine. I care about what goes in the frame. I'm not that, I don't care. And they'll point to the family and say, they're the ones who are more concerned about how I look. I'm just fine, whatever. So how do you got to kind of get people engaged, or you just take over and just tell them what they should wear?
No. I mean, it's always the patient's choice, and that's what we have to remember. But it's important that we're the experts in our stock and in prescriptions and in fit. And so we need to take our expertise to help them make the best choice for what they need and what they're doing with their glasses.
Well, I got a question for you, because this is a debate that I think a lot of opticians have. So traditionally, our frames are all on displays and on the wall, and that we have dispensing tables and that. Do you say, okay, let's take a look at what we got, and you just kind of wander around the store with the patient? Or do you sit them down and say, you stay right here, I'm going to bring you frames? Or do you do this little march around the store a number of times?
Yeah, I mean, it's really tempting because historically, or at least at the malls, people come in and wander, you know, whether it's between movies or waiting for their dinner reservation. I had one supervisor who hated me using the term tire kickers. But the thing is, that doesn't really help the process. Just because you have lots of things to look at, that doesn't mean that everything is a good option for you or would even work. So it's better to limit what your choices are to things that are actually going to work for your prescription, for your face shape, for your sizing, than it is to just look at a whole pile of stuff and it's like, oh, let's just try this on to see. Nope, that's where, as opticians, we have the best information about what we have in stock. So yeah, I like to have them sit down, because then we're having a conversation. I'm engaging with them. I'm finding out what their needs are and how much of a change they really want. I mean, some people, you're right, Lauren, they don't want any change, and that's fine. I can go out and find stuff from my stock that match what they got, but I might do little changes because they're easier to adapt to. On the other hand, some people want something completely different. That's hard too, even if you say you want it. And that's again, where as an optician, I know my stock, I know what's going to fit them, so that every frame that they try on is an option for them to buy.
So Gail, as you know, even though you're always nice to a client, you approach them the nice way, there's always going to be that one client going to say, no, I just want to look around. I'm just going to browse. How do you react to a client like that?
Well, I think, Martin, that this is where the COVID restrictions has actually helped us develop our business model so that we have a less chance of doing that. So first of all, I encourage you to do appointments, even if they're not required by current restrictions, because then you have the one-on-one time. You can plan your staffing better, and you don't have to worry about, wandering around and somebody not, getting the help and the guidance that they need. I mean, we can't have people just touching and trying on frames anymore for health restrictions. And so for those people, because we all say that, it's like, oh, I won't touch anything. But we're such creatures of habit that as soon as we see something, even I, as an optician, I'll reach out and think, no, I need to stop doing that. And so we can't expect anything more from our clients when they come in. So usually if I have somebody come in and I'm working with somebody else, I just book them an appointment, maybe 15, 20 minutes later, and I'll gladly help them. Even people who have an appointment, they want to wander around. My response to them is, well, let me show you what I think will actually work for you. And then if we still can't find something, we'll go around together.
And I know we don't want to talk about necessarily sales or anything like that, but at the end of the day, for a majority of optical stores, I'll take example, sunglass, are a big part even without prescription. So if these patients come into your boutique or your store and they want to look around at sunglasses, you can't really stop them from doing that, because you might get at the end of the day a sale.
Well, yeah, I understand that, Martin, but the thing is, this doesn't stop sales. It actually encourages them, because trying on 20 different pairs of sunglasses that don't fit you, aren't the right shape, aren't really what you're looking for, doesn't make it a good sale. It's like going into a shoe store and trying on shoes because you like the color, but none of them are in your size. Are you going to buy any of those shoes, even if they're your favorite color? No, because they don't fit. It's the same with sunglasses. It's the same with our regular glasses. If it doesn't work for what you need, it really doesn't matter if it's a choice.
Okay, Gail, let's get down to the nitty gritty here. I come into you, I'm wearing a basic plastic frame, very plain, square. We know that styles might be trending towards round or whatever. And I say to you, Gail, I want something just like this. I don't like change. Show me some stuff that looks like this. And I'm very straightforward with you. What are you gonna do? Because I'm an advertisement for you, right? Because people are gonna say, where did you get those glasses? And if they look wonderful on me, it's a great promotion of your dispensary. If they look bad, it reflects on you. Oh, Gail fit me with those. And they ain't coming to see Gail. So Gail, how are you gonna get me to come around a little bit and to change?
And that's a perfect example, because it happens all the time. When you've been wearing something on your face for a year or two, you're used to seeing your face that way. It's like getting a new haircut. Everybody say, oh, I want something updated. And then you go to the hairdressers and you end up with the exact same cut, maybe a little bit fluffier, maybe a little bit shorter, maybe a little bit of color. So I always prepare people's expectations. And first of all, I never say no. Again, I say, no problem. Let me find what I have in stock that's going to fit you in the same. And when I go out and select a few, I then change also a few colors in the exact same shape. And then I also pick the same color, but a couple different shapes. That way you have little steps of change, and people adapt to small changes much faster than they'll adapt to large changes. We know that just with prescriptions, right? Small changes in the prescription, you don't get your eyes checked because you still think you're seeing clearly. It's the same with everything. We want to do small steps. So Lauren, I would come back to you and say, okay, so here's what I have in something very similar to what you're wearing. It's either a different brand, maybe it's lighter, maybe it's got a few small details changed. And when I put it on, you're probably going to like it. The next one I'm going to fit you with, though, is going to be the exact same shape, but in a different color. I mean, one of the trends right now is translucents, and people don't necessarily gravitate to those when they see them just on a white frame board, because they look completely different on your face than they do hanging on the wall. So I always hand it, and I always tell the client when I'm handing it why I've sewed it. So the next frame I would hand you would be something in a different color, and I'd say to them, here's something very similar. However, this is a trend in color. You're going to find it lighter on your face. It's going to work with your skin tones and your hair. Why don't you try this? And usually that small step, they'll go, oh, yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Then if I want to try a different shape, I'll go back to the color that they were wearing before and say, no, you like the darker color or you like the lighter color, but here's something a little rounder, which we're seeing a trend. Here's something a little more oval. Here's something a little more square, so that they're used to seeing something a little bit different. And if you go in small steps, it's easier for them to adapt to change. And suddenly the first pair that they try on may not be their favorite anymore.
Because some comments I've had over the years is when we talk about, because you said, a certain shape is trending or something. And I'm going to say to you, I don't care what's trending. I care about what suits me. Again, there's that closed-mindedness that's coming out.
Right. But the thing is, I guess we have to educate people, is it's not an either or. You can have something that you like, but is also on trend.
Fair enough.
I mean, after working in a dispensary for a few years, you get to know your product, like you've mentioned before, Gail. And I don't say all the time, but a lot of the time, there's this patient that will walk in and right away, which frame is going to look perfect on that person. You just know. And then you have to bring them towards that choice. Would you bring it up right away? Because usually the first one is the best one, right? Or will you mix it in the pile of frames that you will show that patient and slowly gravitate towards that choice?
Yeah, I mean, this is where you have to be careful not to impose your choice on a patient's style, right? But you also want to guide them into something new and different. So yeah, I mean, that's why it's important, first of all, to ask those questions about what they're looking for, what they're open to, what colors they gravitate to, and always keep the one that you want to put in the back of the mind. If it's completely different than what they're wearing right now, yes, I would save it until that they had tried on a couple of styles that are closer to what they're wearing, so that it's not as much of a shock. It's sort of like if you have hair down the back of your down to your waist and then you cut it off to a pixie, that's too much of a shock. Usually you go shoulder length and then you can go shorter.
Yeah. I mean, Lauren, you probably could answer that as well, and Gayle as well. We all have these customers that come in sometime, and it's hard to get to them. It's hard to get them to speak about what they like, what they dislike, and you almost have to make them feel comfortable. And for some people, it's to have fun. And I know it's a term that you and I we've discussed before, Gayle, that you don't like trying glasses on for fun, and I get that. But sometimes it breaks the seriousness of a conversation if you're gonna put like a bright color on somebody. I mean, especially the younger generation, I think they're so used to having things gamified, right? That's how you get them involved. But you don't want to waste anybody's time, especially right now with COVID. We have to disinfect everything. So that's one more frame to disinfect. What do you think about that? How do you handle that, if I can put it that way?
Fair enough. I'm not a big fan of the let's try this on for fun, because honestly, anybody can do it. It's not fun trying on things that don't fit you. It's not fun trying on things that don't look good on you. If I'm an optician and I'm picking a frame that's completely different, it's not because I think it's fun. It's because I think there's a really good reason that it looks good on you or will work for you, or that it's a change that you'll be excited about. So I guess instead of using the words, let's try this on for fun, I would hand them the frame and say, hey, I really like the colors. You've been gravitating towards this shape. Why don't you try something new like this?
What do you say to the patient who you hand them the frame, they try it on, they say, no. You go bring them another one, they go, no. And then you start, and then the third one, no. And now you got to, in a tactful way, say, can you, give me a break here, cut me some slack. Tell me what you don't like about it. Tell me what you're not giving me any feedback. I don't know where to go from here. So how do you draw it out of them? Maybe Martin's shtick might make sense, lighten up everything, put on that crazy butterfly frame with all the colors and let them giggle a bit and say, hey, I broke the ice. I don't know. What do you do?
Yeah, and that's a fair statement, because we've all had that person that we've handed a frame to and they put it on, they go, oh, I hate everything about it, and rip it off their face like it's burning an imprint around their eyes. So my thing is, I usually stop them and ask them to put it back on, because if I've selected the frames, I've chosen them for a reason. So I say, let's put it back on and talk about it, right? It's not going to hurt them. It's not damaging to them. I just say, okay, so you say you don't like this one. I chose this frame because I really liked the colors and I like the softness of it. Or I chose the shape because it's very close to what you're wearing, but it's a little bit of a change. And then I turn it to the positive and I said, do you like those things about it as well? So that you're getting out of the negative and getting it into a positive experience. And they rarely do no, no, no over and over again if you stop it with the first one. So even if I hate something, if it fits me and it works with my prescription, there's got to be a reason why somebody would choose it. And again, if you put on the most outrageous frame first from what they're used to, they're going to reject it. It's just too much of a change. And so you've got to do small steps. But as a professional, I can tell them why I chose that frame. If they still reject it after, they at least now have a thought process that they can go through when I hand them the next frame, whether it's shape, color, fit, prescription. I tell them why I've chosen that one, and I hand it to them. The next frame I would definitely hand to them and say, okay, so this is different. I would hand them something different than what they just rejected and say, so it's different than this one. But again, here's why I chose this color. Here's why I chose this shape. Here's why I chose this material.
So you're doing a lot of, it's positive, positive, positive. Now here's something else that comes up. There's a couple things that come to mind. You know, appropriateness for prescription. Well, you've covered that because you're not going to show them a frame that isn't appropriate. But you put a frame on them, and I'm thinking of two things that could happen. One is you put it on, they say, oh, it doesn't feel right. And you're looking at it, fits, but you know, might be squeezing a bit through the temples. It's a non-adjusted frame, obviously. And, you know, we'd sell, and then I would say, well, no, it needs to be adjusted. Go buy this styling and we'll make sure it fits. And we would adjust it later. And the people go, no, I know as soon as I put a frame on, I know if it's going to work or not. I've been wearing glasses my whole life, you know, this type of thing. And then you have the opposite thing where you'll give them the frame, they'll put it on, and right away you'll notice that maybe the bridge width is okay, but the shape is off a touch. So you're not happy with that. And they say, no, I like this. It feels good. And you know you don't want it. So there's two scenarios where, again, how do you control what's going on?
So let's start with the fit one. If it doesn't feel right, again, I start asking some probing questions. Okay, where doesn't it feel right? That's something that's adjustable. And there's nothing wrong with taking the frame back and making a small adjustment so that the patient can feel how it's going to feel a little bit more. I mean, we can't duplicate what the weight is going to be when they have their prescription glasses in, but at least they can know how it's going to fit on their bridge and behind their ears and along the temples. So that's an easy one. And you can do the adjustments right there with them and say, again, when I hand it back to them, I'm always with a positive. I say, this is going to feel better. Like I already tell them that it's going to feel better. So that's their anticipation when they put the frame on. I do that with all of my adjustments, right? Even it's a small change, whether they're buying glasses or I'm adjusting one that they've purchased. Whenever I do an adjustment, whenever I do a change, I hand it to them and say, this is going to be better. Because now it's like, okay, she told me it was going to be better. It's going to be better. And they're already having that positive feeling. Now, the other scenario where they like something that when you put it on, it's not the best. I usually, I don't hide anything. I just keep it positive. And I'd say, yeah, I affirm the things that they like, whether it's color or shape. But I tell them that there was something that I liked better. Not that I don't like this one, I just like something else better. And I would usually go back to that frame and have them try it on and say, see, this bridge is just a little bit better fit along your nose, or this shape just centers your eyes a little bit more. Again, I haven't told them that I don't like what they're doing. I'm just saying that there's something that I think is better and that they're going to like better.
You know how we're talking, so they might reject some frames, obviously, at the beginning of the process. And there might be a frame or frames in that first few that you pulled that they rejected outright. But because of your process of guiding them through this, would you go back to one of the frames they've rejected and say, now have a look at that? And now maybe they're more can accept it more because you're slowly bringing them around?
That occasionally happens, but it's rare. Usually the things that they reject at the beginning, I'm rejecting as well. Usually it's stuff that's close to what they're wearing by the time we're getting them into a change. So those kind of things, you can go back, but honestly, once somebody says that it doesn't work and you agree and you think you have other stuff, I put it off to the side, out of sight, out of mind.
Now, Gail, the whole process that we've been discussing so far is definitely optician with patient. A lot of stores, they're set up differently. There's a certain process that a patient will go through before they get to the optician. They might have a frame stylist and everything else. Or they just might have a student optician or an assistant picking eyewear. And then they sit down in front of you as an optician and you don't like the fit. You don't like the eyewear that was chosen by your assistant and the patient. How do you turn that around and then go back to the board and go through the process again?
That's a great question, Martin, because you're right. In larger stores, we have assistants and frame stylists. So first of all, I would never reject a frame just because I don't like it, because I wasn't involved in the process, right? And so that my personal taste on it, then no, I wouldn't reject it. However, if there's a problem with the frame, such as that it's not going to suit their needs, it's not a good fit, those kind of things, yeah, I would interject. I would probably say to the frame fitter or the assistant and said, you know, I think that there's probably something better for their prescription or a better fit on the nose. What do we have that's similar to this that meets those criteria? You don't have to go all the way back to the beginning because we already know what they chose. However, what we just need to do is find something within those parameters of shape and color. And again, as experts of your inventory, and I cannot emphasize that enough, know your inventory. You should be able to grab 1 or 2 frames, not a dozen, and not have to start all over again.
And I totally agree with you on this. But I still get those patients once in a while, and a young man or a young lady, they just came to me with this picture from a magazine, those big eyeglasses, wearing at the bottom of their nose, you know, the distance between the back surface of the lens and the front surface of the eye is so great that, you know, the prescription has changed and everything else, but that's what they want. That's the style they're trying to achieve. It's hard to say no to that because that's what they want. They are filling the prescription. It might not be a very strong prescription, so it won't affect the vision that much. But again, at the end of the day, that's what they want.
Well, ultimately, again, it's the patient's choice. But again, this is where our knowledge and being upfront with the patient is really what we're looking for. So I can say, yep, I have that. Again, positive. I never say, no, you can't have that. Yep, I have that style. Let's put it on. Here's what I see. Here's the challenges you're going to have. And then here's what I would recommend that would give you a similar eye look or fit or style, but I think it's going to match you better. And I give them the option. If they choose the one that I wouldn't choose, there's not much I can do about it other than to prepare them and say, I think you're going to have trouble. I think it's going to be sore on your nose. I think it's going to slide down on a regular basis. But if they're willing to take those risks, then at least they've made an educated bad decision.
Even though they come back 2 weeks later and said, you were right, can I change those now?
Well, that depends on your own store policy and what you'd like to do about that.
Yeah, but so the thing right there is noted on the file.
That's right.
But again, at the end of the day, most of us want our patients to be happy, and we are going to make the changes. But most stores don't have a policy. Wear it for a few weeks, bring it back. We know there's one chain that was doing that, and I think it really blew up in their face, because if you really promote that, you know, you got to tell people you're going to stand behind everything, make them happy. But you can't get into this this loop of people trying it for a week or two, coming back. No, I don't like it. No, this, no that. Oh, I've got a question. It just popped in my head, and you know, that's the way I am here. The patient comes in for an adjustment, you know, minor adjustment, whatever, after a week or two of wearing, and they go, I'm not happy. Nobody noticed that I got new glasses. So I always say, well, that just shows how great they suit you, that they suit you so well. Or they can, but they're taking it as, why did I spend this money? I could have just stuck with what I had. So how do you save that situation and don't say, okay, well, if you're not happy, let's start all over again?
Well, again, I mean, this is where you're dealing with the, probably issues outside of the optical scope of practice. But the thing is, you just reaffirm, whether other people notice or not, you liked these glasses for a reason. And I still really like how they fit. And be specific. I really like the color change on you. You know, if they chose something similar, then you can just say, well, sure, they're very close to what you wore before, but that's what you really liked about them. So yeah, you know, it's like getting a trim on your haircut. They're not going to notice as much, but you're happy and you can see clear and they fit you.
And perhaps the prescription is different, so they actually see a whole lot better. thus needing the new RX, the new glasses. Gayle, this was unbelievable. Thank you so much for joining us today. That was a great conversation. I'm sure Lorna is with me on this. I think we could have this conversation every day for the next year easily. We all have different opinions on this and how to fit eyewear. But again, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Gayle, because I think a key takeaway here is just like the name of your presentation, you did it Inside Optics. It's up to the optician to guide the choice or guiding the choice and take control. You are the professional, take control. You have to be a bit of a psychologist here, like in any sales situation, but we have so many components. I think you got a great process here. Like Martin said, I think we could talk even longer and have other conversations about this. So I want to thank you also for doing this. I want to thank the Optical Group for sponsoring this podcast. I think we're going to have some other things. So you're on a great adventure right now. I know you're going somewhere to help people see, and you'll be guiding the choice. And if you can say this in 60 seconds or less, why don't you just tell us briefly what your next adventure is?
Sure. In just a few days, I will be landing in Iqaluit, Nunavut, and we're opening the first optical and optometric center on Baffin Island. It's very exciting. And, you know, we pride ourselves in Canada about having universal health care that's accessible to everybody. Unfortunately, that accessibility is not evenly distributed. And I'm really proud to be part of a project with the Northwest Company to open this optical and finally serve some people who are desperate in need of basic eye care.
Cool.
Well, Gayle, we can't wait to see pictures, maybe videos of how that's going up there. Can't wait to hear back from you and let us know how that goes. And maybe we can bring you on a next podcast as well. You can tell us all about it.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Lauren and Martin. It's been a pleasure to be a part. And, you know, knowledge is best and powerful when it's shared.
Thank you so much, Gayle. All the best, safe travels. And I'm sure we'll be hearing from you as you update us on your new adventure. Thank you so much.
Well, Lauren, this was a great podcast today. Really enjoy this. I mean, one key thing that I got from the whole process today is positive messaging. Everything that Gayle's has told us about is always how to put things in a positive manner and forget about the negative. And I think that's how we're going to harness our patients' trust in their choices and guiding them the right way to get their new eyewear. Again, that was great today. So glad I was part of this.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with you, Martin. So anyways, everybody, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back with our next episode. We've got quite a few new episodes coming up. So thanks for joining us. You've been listening to See What We See with Lauren and Martin, and this episode is brought to you by the Optical Group. Thank you. Take care and stay safe.
Till next time, Lauren.
Thank you for listening to See What We See with Lauren and Martin. Be sure to follow us across our social media pages so you never miss an update or an episode. You can find us on Twitter at OOA_frontline. On Facebook and LinkedIn, we are Ontario Opticians Association. Follow us on Instagram at Ontario Opticians Association. That's all one word. We look forward to seeing you again on See What We See with Lauren and Martin. Take care and stay safe.